This is a lesson plan. On paper, this lesson lasts exactly 50 minutes. Every slide is timed, every transition is smooth, it's perfect. But we all know the truth. When you go live, reality hits. A technical problem steals 5 minutes. A complex question triggers a long debate, or simply the energy of the room is lower than expected. Some think that if you have a plan, you cannot improvise, or that if you improvise, you are unprofessional, but I believe the opposite. The fact is that effective improvisation is only possible if you have a solid structure. Think of it as a wiggle room, space and time for everything that isn't written in the plan. It's the ability to adapt without breaking the structure. In this final video, I will introduce the basics to build a solid plan that allows you not to be rigid. More in detail, Module 5 of the course deals with design, delivering, and managing the unexpected during your lesson. So, how do we build this solid structure? Before you even open your laptop or write down the title of your lesson, you need to zoom out. Step 1 is an overview of the whole course. A lesson is never an island. It's part of a learning path. If you plan a single hour without looking at the full course program, you are building a fragment. Ask yourself, what did they learn yesterday, and what do they need to be ready for? Ultimately, your goal is to help them to reach the course objective, not just the lesson's objective. Step 2. Once you have the context, you have to choose your planning strategy. If the map of the course contents and the course objective is clear, then you have two main roads. The first road is planning by content. This is very common, but if you say, I have 50 slides on this topic, I need to read them all, that's a naive lesson plan. It relies entirely on the support material. Is it wrong? Not necessarily. Experienced professors can do it, but for a beginner trainer, it's risky. The risk is that you perform a mere transmission of information. You might speak for an hour without ever engaging the learners in authentic activities that allow them to truly understand. That's why my advice, especially if you are starting out, is to choose the second road, planning by objectives. This is the core of instructional design. Why do I recommend this? Because it forces you to focus on the indicators. Remember the advanced level we discussed in the assessment video. Planning by objectives means asking what must they be able to do to prove they reach that level. When you keep the goals in mind, it becomes easier to design activities that develop real, measurable skills. And crucially, it optimizes your resources. If a piece of content doesn't serve the objective, you cut it. It saves you time and it saves learners from confusion. So, let's go on with our planning by objectives. Here's a practical example. Imagine I have to design a 2-day-long workshop on email marketing. Where do I start? First, define the objective. My objective for the course is write emails that get opened and generate a reply. But for the first day, in the first part of the workshop, my micro-objective is the participant must be able to write the subject line and the preview so that the recipient opens the email. Otherwise, any good body text for the email would be wasted. Second, filter the noise. This is the point. Since my goal for the first session is just the open rate, what do I do with anything else? How to write the body of an email? Cut. How to manage attachments? Cut. Formal greetings? Cut. For this specific session, that is all nice. Of course, that'd be important, but now they contribute more to wasting valuable time than creating knowledge and skills. 3. Finally, design the activity. Now, instead of preparing 20 slides on the history of email, I design the action. I need a preparation phase. I ask the class, what factors matter when you read a notification? See that you can play a short explanation as if it were a traditional lecture, or you can propose a quick brainstorming to elicit the concepts, like the sense of urgency, the relevance of the object. This is a required setup for the core activity. The core activity will be, you have 2 minutes, write a subject line for this specific crisis scenario. Go! And I collect them anonymously using the tools we saw in video 3, for example, and we comment them on live. Do you see the difference? I didn't build the lesson around a list of slides. I built it around the objectives, opening the email, and the activity, writing the subject. There is a variant to this approach, which is planning by activity. Sometimes you have an intriguing activity, a great simulation or a complex game, and you decide to build the whole session around it. This could be very engaging but risky. If the activity fails, maybe because the participants lack the basics or the technological setup breaks down, you are stuck. So, if you choose this path, always have a plan B, like a traditional lecture, ready to go, just in case. Our Train the Trainer's handbook is designed by objectives. We invite you to use the same logic for your modules. Start with the why and the how will follow. Now that we have the structure of a lesson, let's look at the fine design. How do you outline the single lesson? You don't need fancy software. A word processing program or even a pen and notebook will be okay. What matters is distinguishing between must-have and nice-to-have. What is a must-have? It's the core without which the delivery of the lesson and the follow-up will fail. For example, the definition of a key concept, or a test activity, or the final handout, that summary document that has all the necessary resources you give them at the end for their home study. You cannot cut these. If you skip them, you haven't properly prepared a lesson. And what is a nice to have? Everything else. That interesting YouTube video you found, that historical anecdote about the inventor, the extra examples, these are great addition, they add flavor, but they are not the meal. In fact, the strategy is mark the nice to have clearly. Mark the slides, for example, or put a star next to the must-haves on your schedule. Why? To know in advance what in your entire material can be a sacrifice. If you are running late, you don't have to think. You just look at your notes and say goodbye to the historical anecdote. The audience doesn't have your script. They will never know you cut anything. Why is this important? Let's simulate a sadly quite common situation. You are in the middle of a complex explanation, you look at the clock and you have 5 minutes left, but you still have 10 slides or 2 pages to cover. You are behind schedule. Speed up is a wrong reaction. Oh no guys, we are running out of time, quickly, slide 40 is this, slide 41 is that, don't worry about the details, look here, look there, okay, done, bye. That's not just embarrassing, it's a learning damage. By rushing, you can only create cognitive confusion, avoiding any chance of reflection. And worse, you implicitly told your audience that the final concepts are less important than the first ones, since they apparently deserved less time. If your setup was solid, when you see the time and it's late, you can immediately make a choice, cutting the nice-to-haves. Maybe you can skip the last example instead of rushing, therefore you can focus properly on the key takeaways of the session. Your sacrifice of quantity is up to protect quality. Remember, your goal is to ensure learning, not to honor your slides. If unnecessary content prevents learning, since there is no time to digest, that content must be cut. Running out of time, like in our simulation, is not the only unexpected issue you will face. What happens if someone asks a hostile question? What if you receive open criticism in front of everyone? What if technology fails? We didn't cover these scenarios here, but you can find some tips in Module 5 of the handbook. This concludes our series. We began by touching on the profile of the adult learner, then we moved to the use of digital tools, we talked about assessment, a compass rather than just grades. Finally, we established the importance of planning. However, this video serves only as an introduction. The core resource is the Train the Trainer's handbook. I encourage you to download it and use it as a working document. Consult it, take notes, and adapt these frameworks to your specific teaching context. Teaching is one of the most creative acts in the world. It gives you opportunity to experiment and connect with brilliant people. Don't look for the perfect lesson, look for the effective one. So, good luck and have a good training.